Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Mary Ann Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Mary Ann Pinkston.
Hey, good morning. I am here with another drpbetterlife.com type of morning with Mitch Stephen, who I am extremely honored to have on my show. We are in kind of two different markets, like you said a moment ago. This is kind of the real estate guy, and I'm the medical girl. Mm-hmm. But you have such an interesting story, and so I wanted to, and you reached out to me, which is awesome. I appreciate that, but wanted to bring you on and have you talk a little bit about your story, because it's very inspiring. Inspired me, and I think that there are a lot of people who need to hear what you have to say. So I'm happy to have you on this morning. Welcome in.
Well, I'm honored to be here. And, the reason why I reached out was I went on a personal journey to solve some issues and take on some personal challenges of my own. And I posted some of it, or little snippets of my progress, on Facebook. And I got so many replies asking me questions, how did you do it? Or how did you do this part or that part or that part? And so many people, and I tried to answer them back personally because I thought, wow, I struck a chord. There must be a lot of people out there struggling with the same things. And I need to take the time out of my day to help if I can. So I tried to answer everybody back, but it got overwhelming. So I wrote a book called Enough, all capital letters, exclamation point, a little book. I have it digitally available because I'm giving away the digital version. I will put it on Amazon for sale just because it might reach some people that would not otherwise see it, but I'm not trying to make any money off of that at all. I'm just trying to answer all the questions that everybody had. And even in the book, I say, and if I didn't answer the question, it's a digital book. So call me and tell me what I didn't answer or what you want to know, and I'll add it to the book. So it's kind of an evergreen book.
Well, in the onset, I completely missed a step, though, because I said you're the real estate guy. But what do you do?
Well,
what do you not do? Maybe is the right question.
Mitch Stephen has figured out how to buy a house about every 4 to 5 days for over 2.5 decades. So I've bought about 100 houses a year in or about San Antonio.
Sure.
In the quasi flipping space, although I don't really flip my houses, I sell them with a 30-year owner financing.
Gotcha.
To my buyers who are stuck in the rent role.
Yeah.
Except for someone who will sell or finance to them.
Sure.
They're great people that just don't fit traditional mortgage.
Right, just need a chance and all.
Yeah.
But you have a podcast and have written some books and done some pretty awesome. That we were talking about how many, over 300,000 downloads a year on your podcast. And
last I saw was like 365,000 downloads a year. Which, when you look like Joe Rogan or somebody, you think, well, that's nothing. But actually, that's in the top 5 percentile of the world. And I was amazed to figure that out.
Absolutely.
Like, holy cow. I just recently did my 500th podcast interview. You guys can, at 1000houses.com,
yes,
1000houses.com, you can go there and read about me till you're sick about me. You can,
and learn a lot, though. Learn a lot about the market and the financial real estate things that you do and all, because it's really very valuable and amazing. I've seen some of them. I love it. So I'm going to try to sit and binge watch one of these days and maybe become as successful as you.
Oh, wow.
But the flip side of that, I mean, yes, you're a successful business person, done very well in your life, but there's kind of a dark side. And that's what I'm hoping that we can reach people with today.
Well, so, to do, when you're really high strung, really tightly wound, or in your business called
Type A
or triple A, as been noted, we run it in very high gear and we don't do anything half-assed,
Right.
So, if you're going to smoke a cigarette, you're going to smoke the whole pack. If you're going to drink a bottle, you're going to drink the whole bottle. If you're going to go buy some houses, you're going to buy 100 a year.
Or eat, you're going to take the whole table.
Yeah, you're going to eat. It's like whatever I want. So, but it's not. I like to explain the story because, I started drinking in the 7th grade. We live in Texas, and when I was being raised,
yes,
the teachers, the coaches, all the parents came to somebody's place or somebody's ranch to have a weekend, and there was a keg for the parents and there was a keg for the kids. You know what I mean? And everyone thought, I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not criticizing the people or the way it was back then. It's just the way it was. They figured, at least they'll be here because they're going to drink somewhere. So at least they'll be here. We'll know where they're at. They won't be out, someplace we don't know and getting hurt. They'll be right here in our backyard, and let's have them experience that here. So, if they're going to do it, which we were going to do it no matter what.
No, absolutely. But then it turns into a self-medicating, event over life, I think. Even, it's fun to begin with, but I think sometimes it turns into kind of you say you're high-strung, right? We all are. Yeah. You got to find some outlet or some way of softening the blow of life and all, and sometimes it turns into a good pattern.
Well, Robert Emmett at Community Bible Church, when he was there, he said something that really hit me kind of hard. He says, our worst vices and habits all start out as fun in the beginning, and then they get a little heavier and a little more ominous until one day these things are not fun at all, and they're actually being detrimental or can even kill you. So I said, I had to raise my hand. I always felt like Robert Emmett was speaking right to me every time I walked in that room. I was like, dang, that guy's been listening on my phone calls. So I got to a point where, I had a drink in my hand from 4:30, about happy hour. We'd have the business meeting, and then it would go on till about 6 or so, and then you're kind of wound up, so you'd hang around and have another couple of drinks and talk to the people there that you knew, and you'd straggle around, and then you'd have a drink on the way home, and then you'd get home, and then you'd have a drink, and you look up at it's 11:30 or 12 o'clock, and I don't know how long that went on, 40 years, and I wasn't falling down. I never had a DWI. I never got a divorce. I never lost a job. I never got in a fight. I never got PI. I was a highly, highly functional drinker, and I was sipping, but nonetheless.
It was a lot,
and it became a lifestyle, and it just went on for years and years and years, and you don't really realize how many years, the years go fast.
Yeah,
you look up, it's a decade, and then it's 2 decades.
Yeah.
And I used to have a cigarette or 2 or 3 or 4 during those sessions.
Sure.
For years I wouldn't. And I'd go weeks or months without smoking, and I don't know, somewhere in the last 10 years it turned into, if I have when I drink, I'm going to have a cigarette, and that's going to turn into a whole pack.
Sure.
And it was every night, and I thought, man, this is going to kill me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So what was the moment? Because I think, when I talk to patients, I see people, even for me at one point, eating was the way I dealt with things in life. And so when it came down to, trying to flip and change my life around, there was just a light bulb moment. Did you have a moment like that?
Well, mine was pretty obvious. I had acid reflux so bad from the nicotine and the bourbon on the rocks that I like to sip on.
Right.
That every night about between 2:30 and 3, I had to dump a bucket of bile out of my system.
Yeah.
And then everyone I talked to, when they'd see me press it on my chest or my throat in the afternoon because it was building up, they'd say, I know someone who died from that esophageal cancer, and that's what caused it, or they knew someone who was going through it right now. And apparently it's a very ominous, hard way to go from esophageal cancer.
Yes, it is.
And everyone knew somebody. And so I was, people were tapping me on the shoulder going, you got to get that fixed. And then I thought, well, you could go take Prilosec and all this stuff the rest of your life, but you're just putting more junk in your body and trying to cover up.
Right.
What you really need to do is stop what's causing it.
Yeah.
So, I never had it when I just drank, but when I added the pack of cigarettes a day onto it, that's when it started happening. So I thought, well, I'll quit the smoking, because the smoking is going to kill you anyways. Sure. Any dummy can figure out that smoking a pack of cigarettes a day is not any good for you.
Right. But it's so hard. It's so hard for people to stop. And God bless her, my mother, I admire very, very much, has tried so many times to quit, and it's just impossible. She's just so addicted. She's 80. She's like, to heck with it now. But that is, how do you do something that you did? I assume overeating. We talked a little bit about that, but drinking and smoking and everything just all at once, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just laid it down, walked away.
all I wanted to do was quit smoking. But I couldn't quit smoking because once I started the drink that day, my willpower would go out the window.
Sure.
And then by the end of the evening, you had your cigarettes and your drink, and then it's like, 11:30 at night. And it's like, well, give me the chimichanga and the nachos. And,
Right.
I couldn't quit smoking because the drinking was ruining my willpower.
Right.
And so I told myself, if you can't quit smoking in 30 days while you're drinking, then you got to quit drinking because this is life or death. First of all, I deemed it as life or death challenge. I looked right in the mirror and said, this is life or death.
Sure.
I'm turning 60. At the time I was 57. I'm sneaking up on 60. Probably got 10 good, vigorous years left, 12, 13. I don't mean I'm going to die in 10 years. I just mean really tear them up years.
Sure.
I still got 10.
For quality.
Yeah, by the time you're 70, you shouldn't want to do all that. You should want to kind of slow down. But and if I don't stop, I'm already on the downhill slope, and I could get the call any day that, you're in serious trouble right now, health-wise. And if I do stop, I have a chance. So it took a while, though, because I was very afraid of who I was without alcohol because I didn't know.
Yeah.
I never
Like
lived
an old
without
shoe,
it.
like an old sock and shoe you put on every day, right?
Yeah, so one day, I talked to God a lot about it too. I was begging God, like, show me how to take this away from me, please. So I was never really alone in this. I did it by myself. I didn't announce. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't ask anybody. I didn't have a doctor. I didn't have a therapist. I didn't get a patch. I didn't do anything. I just talked to my God, and one day he became real apparent. He says, well, I can help you, but you got to take the first step, son. So I said, okay. So I'm driving back from a little ranch I had out in West Texas, and I stopped at this place called Sisterdale to have a drink, and smoke a cigarette, and decide what day I was going to quit. And me and God walked in there, and me and God walked out, and I decided, I picked a day, and on that day, I stopped drinking and smoking on the same day. And honestly, I don't know what happened, but it was hardly any resistance. I mean, the first few days was hard.
Right.
As far as I didn't know what to do with my time, because the thing I had planned for something to have in my hand.
Sure.
I was going to replace a soda water with lemon, and I was going to still have my concoction, and I wanted to put the
Salt
chili
on the rim
pepper,
or
the chili pepper around the rim,
Sure.
and make my own. So I had my ritual. I still had to make a drink.
Exactly
Still
right.
had to stop what I was doing, go make my drink, but it wasn't that drink. And I still had that hand to mouth thing going because I'd heard about that. And the same thing. I didn't replace the cigarettes because I instinctively knew. I never smoked unless I had a drink in my hand.
Sure.
And I figured if I didn't have the drink in my hand, I'd never want the cigarettes. Right? And I didn't. I didn't even crave a cigarette one iota without the booze.
Well, and I want to tell people to be real careful about, I have to put this in because people don't understand when they just stop alcohol, they can go through delirium tremens, they call it DTs. It can be a fatal, incident. It can be very miserable. So that when you are a slow drinker like that over time, sometimes you can do that. But I just warn people about that. It's good. Get a doctor's help if you need it. There's some people who can. You do great.
In my description of the book, I said in the description of my book, I put I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I don't have any credentials to say anything I'm saying. Yeah. The only thing I have in my corner is I did it.
Right.
So that's the only thing.
But that's what I'm interested in because there are so many people who don't have that drive and that gumption. And I think it is that type A personality that we're talking about of just when you do something, you do it hard, you do it all the way. And even quitting something like that is so hard for people to do. You just do it hard, you do it all the way. And so, if I can ever help people understand, because I did the same way, losing weight. It was, in eating and eating disorder is what I had, because not everybody would go to bed, and I'd pull out the stuff under my bed and just eat until, I was blue. And, just gain weight. And so at some point that just had to stop. So I did the same thing you did. I made up my mind, wrapped my head around it, and just stopped and then walked away. So how do people do that? And that's a hard question.
It wasn't like it happened overnight. I planned it for a long time. I had a plan B. I had a holistic guy that I was going to go to if this failed because I had heard that it's not easy. I didn't know if I could do it. I was really questioning my self-discipline and also taking this as a self-discipline challenge. Like, all right, Mr. AAA, you think you're badass. Let's see why don't you beat your biggest demon? Why don't you try to beat that guy? And I thought, like game on. I challenged myself. I can't tell you how important it was to me that, I asked God to be on my team.
Sure.
That's me.
Spiritual life, and it's like, it's having the higher power.
I needed someone to talk to, because I didn't tell I didn't want the pressure of anyone looking at me and telling me, and if I failed, I didn't want any of that pressure. So I went quietly. And to your point, I had to go back and add in the front in red a warning, because people had called me, and one of the people that watched my walk went silently to quit. And the next day woke up and his left side was numb. He called the emergency room. He said, they asked the right questions. They figured out he'd just quit drinking. They said, you have to go get and drink a 6-pack right now, or get to an emergency room, because you're fixing to have a massive heart attack. Mm-hmm. And so I put in there
please do it.
Yeah, please. Maybe you don't do this the way I did. Maybe I just got lucky, or maybe, I don't know. Maybe my intake wasn't as much, because I didn't drink to oblivion. I just sipped constantly.
Sure.
So yes, do beware. Do beware.
Yes.
And so I had a plan B in case I failed, because I knew this. It was life or death. So if I failed and couldn't do it myself, then I had to take it to another level. The other thing I didn't like was, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, again, it's just me, but how I got to where I'm at in the real estate business is, I understand that what we think is what we believe. I mean, what we believe is what's going to happen. What the way we talk to ourselves is how we become.
Yes.
I learned that a long time ago. It is probably the one thing you can point to that you change your self-talk and you change how you think about yourself and the world around you, and your whole world will change. And so I never understood AA, where you would walk in and say, hi, my name's Mitch Stephen and I'm an alcoholic. I mean, why would I ever claim that? Mm-hmm. I decided if I had to go to AA, that when I walked in, I was going to say, hi, my name is Mitch Stephen, and I'm going to kick alcohol's ass.
There you go.
That's how because I'm not going to claim it.
The term beauty is only skin deep takes a new meaning when you find a medical spa that works one-on-one with your individual needs in a safe, relaxing atmosphere. And with medical spa on every corner, why would Dolce Beauty and Laser be different? Owner Lisa Trinquier has designed the ultimate medical spa experience. Botox fillers, laser hair removal, facials, weight loss, body sculpting lasers, an infrared sauna, and more. Your body and anti-aging experience is waiting. Our injector specialist has greater than 10 years of experience, more than any other injector in San Antonio. And with me, Dr. Marianne Pinkston, as medical director, we provide the ultra-innovative experience. Go to dolcebl.com. That's DOLCEBL.com. And contact us for a free consult and 10% off your first service. Call 210-686-0505. We are located off I-10 on Camp Bullis Road in North San Antonio at 6865 Camp Bullis Road.
Welcome back. I am talking with Mitch Stephen today, the real estate guru who turned his life around and did some great things for his health, which I am really trying to get your story out so that people understand there's a way to improve their life and make big changes. And so there was some prep work that you talked about beforehand. And what was that all about? How did you feel that helped you?
The prep works, as far as the weight loss was, I didn't have anything to do for all these hours, so I said, well, I was no stranger to the gym in my life, in my athletic years, so I thought I'll go back to the gym. I could probably burn some hours in this gym and try to burn some of this energy that I have that I don't know what to do with. So I checked back into a gym, and boy, was it pathetic. I mean, 30 years of not working out. I would crawl out of that place after even just 15 or 20 minutes, and it was very painful.
But you got started.
I went to some place where there wasn't a bunch of muscle-bound guys. I went to Specialized Fitness here in San Antonio, run by Alana and Damien Cortez, and it was really nice because it's a private place and there's not a bunch of bodybuilders there, and I didn't want to be embarrassed because it was embarrassing, and. But then I learned, the first thing I had to do, if I was going to lose any weight, because then the idea started, well, why am I not losing weight and I'm working out? And they said, well, you got to change your diet. So I kind of started exploring keto-ish diets, and I found that I ate about the same 8 things all week long.
Right.
Just different restaurants. And so I substituted 20 keto meals for the 8 that I was having.
Sure.
And in about 12 days, my mind switched. But really, before I could even expect to lose any weight, I had to get my body in order, the chemistry of my body.
Right.
And I went to a holistic doctor, MD, and we had to get my hormones right. We had to get my balances. They took the blood test. They figured out what I was deficient in, what I needed. They checked my testosterone levels. No wonder a lot of things were off, is because I was scraping the bottom of the barrel in testosterone at age 57, which is not unusual at all.
No, it's everybody really. Yes.
And I just been to my regular doctors, and they said I was fine. And then I go to my MD, and he goes, "Man, we got to get you some testosterone." I says, "Well, why didn't my regular doctors tell me?" And they said, "Well, you know, the AMA says between 200 and 1200 you're okay, and you're at 230."
Right.
And he says you need to be around 900 or 12,
yes.
you know.
900 to 1200. People do not realize 700 is not good. So.
I'm triple A, so the hell with 900. Get me at 1350. Get me around 1500. You know, I want to rest.
Let's go.
It's time to get down the road here.
Bless your heart. But but that's it. You're right. And that's my punchline there, is that you've got to do the prep work and get your body going and get your vitamins and minerals right, you know, along with your diet and all those things. It does have to stack up and line up. And that's where people, I think, do need a hand, you know, help. A lot of doctors don't really help. And somebody more holistic, like, you know.
Well, the holistic guy was always, you know, he's high on the paleo diet, which is not the hunter-gatherer diet, which is not so far from.
There's a lot of different types, and each body type is different. So,
but what was cool is I had a doctor that was going to see every 6 months that was taking my blood and was watching my progress on that weight, was really cheering me on and really telling me, and then I could ask him some questions.
Exactly.
And I just got into it like a typical AAA person, and I lost 55 pounds.
Right. So
I went from 36-inch waist to a 28-inch waist. And I'm wearing my high school jeans.
Yeah, and there's the cherry on top. So got rid of alcohol, got rid of tobacco.
That's all I wanted. All I wanted to do was quit smoking. It led to quitting drinking because I couldn't quit smoking. Then then it took me to the gym, and then I started doing some dieting, talking to some people about health, and then I made this whole transaction in over 2 years. I have to introduce, if I haven't seen a person after this transition, like if I was heavy when they last saw me, I have to introduce themselves, me to them, because they don't know who I am.
Well, you did a fantastic job, hence the person that you are. And we have run out. The clock is gone. Is that crazy or what? Which disappoints me greatly, because you were a fantastic guest. This is a great story. So you can hear a lot more about it, that's for sure. And I'm going to direct everybody over to drpbetterlife.com, where I will have every link possible, including to a free book that he has granted everyone, which I think is entirely incredibly generous. But I will have all those links at drpbetterlife.com. Mitch, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Thanks.